Chapter 43. But the scarcity of food was severe in the land. And it came to be, when they had eaten up the grain which they had brought from Mitzrayim, that their father said to them, Go back, buy us a little food. But Yehudah spoke to him, saying, The man vehemently warned us, saying, You do not see my face unless your brother is with you. If you let our brother go with us, we go down and buy your food. But if you do not let him go, we do not go down, because the man said to us, You do not see my face unless your brother is with you. And Israel said, Why did you do evil to me to inform the man that you still had a brother? And they said, The man kept asking about us and our relatives, saying, Is your father still alive? Have you a brother? And we informed him according to these words. How could we know that he would say, Bring your brother down? And Yehudah said to Israel his father, Send the boy with me, and let us arise and go, and live and not die, both we and you, and also our little ones. I myself shall stand guarantor for him. From my hand you are to require him. If I do not bring him back to you and put him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. For if we had not delayed, truly by now we could have returned this second time. And their father Israel said to them, If so, then do this. Take some of the best fruit of the land in your vessels, and bring a present down for the man, and a little balm, and a little honey, spices, and myrrh, nuts, and almonds. And take double silver in your hand, and take back in your hand the silver that was returned in the mouth of your sacks. It could have been a mistake. And take your brother, and arise, go back to the man. And El Shaddai give to you compassion before the man, so that he shall release your other brother and Binyamin. And I, if I am bereaved, I am bereaved. And the man took that present and Binyamin, and they took double the amount of silver in their hand, and arose and went down to Mitzrayim, and stood before Joseph. And Joseph saw Binyamin with them, and said to the one over his house, Bring the men home, and make a great slaughter, and prepare, for these men are to eat with me at noon. And the men did as Joseph said, and the men brought the men into Joseph's house. And the men were afraid, because they were brought into Joseph's house. And they said, It is because of the silver which was put back into our sacks the first time, that we are brought in, to throw himself upon us, and fall upon us, to take us as slaves, our donkeys too. So they came near to the man over the house of Joseph, and spoke to him at the door of the house, and said, O my master, we indeed came down to the first time to buy food. But it came to be, when we came to the lodging place, that we opened our sacks and saw each man's silver in the mouth of his sack, our silver in its weight, and we have brought it back in our hand. And we have brought down other silver in our hands to buy food. We do not know who put our silver in our sacks. But he said, Peace be with you. Do not be afraid. Your Elohim and the Elohim of your father has given you treasure in your sacks. Your silver had come to me. And he brought Shimon out to them. And the men brought the men into Joseph's house, and gave them water, and they washed their feet. And he gave their donkeys fodder. And they made the present ready for Joseph's coming at noon, for they heard that they were to eat there. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed down before him to the earth. And he asked them about their welfare, and said, Is your father well? The old man of whom you spoke, is he still alive? And they said, Your servant, our father, is in good health. He is still alive. And they bowed their heads down and did obeisance. And he lifted his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, Is this your younger brother, of whom you spoke to me? And he said, Elohim show favor to you, my son. And Joseph hurried, for his emotions were deeply moved towards his brother, and he looked to weep, and went into his room and wept there. Then he washed his face, and came out, and controlled himself, and said, Serve the food. And they placed him by himself, and them by themselves, and the midstrites who ate with him by themselves. For the midstrites could not eat food with the Ivrim, for that is an abomination to the midstrites. And they set before him the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men looked at each other in astonishment. And he took portions to them from before him. But Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs. And they fasted and they drank with him. Chapter 44. And he commanded the one over his house, saying, Fill the men's sacks with food, as they are able to bear, and put each man's silver in the mouth of his sack. And put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the sack of the youngest, and the silver for his grain. And he did according to the word of Joseph, which he spoke. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away, they and their donkeys. And when they had gone out of the city, not having gone far, Joseph said to the one over his house, Rise up, follow the men, and when you overtake them, say to them, Why have you repaid evil for good? Is this not the one from which my master drinks, and with which he indeed divines? You have done evil in what you have done. So he overtook them and spoke these words to them. And they said to him, Why does my master say these words? Far be it from us that your servants should do according to this word. See, we brought back to you from the land of Canaan the silver which we found in the mouth of your sacks, of our sacks. How then should we steal silver or gold from your master's house? With whomever of your servants it is found, he shall die, and we shall become my master's slaves as well. And he said, Now also let it be according to your words. He with whom it is found becomes my slave, and you are innocent. And they hurried, each man let down his sack to the ground, and each opened his sack. And he searched with the oldest first, and with the youngest last. And the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. And they tore their garments, and each man loaded his donkey, and went back to the city. And Yehuda and his brothers came to Joseph's house, and he was still there. And they fell before him on the ground. And Joseph said to them, What deed is this you have done? Did you not know that a man like me indeed divines? And Yehuda said, What do we say to my master? What do we speak? Or how do we clear ourselves? Elohim has found out the wickedness of your servants. See, we are my master's slaves, both we and he also with whom the cup was found. But he said, Far be it from me to do this. The man in whose hand the cup was found, he becomes my slave. And you, go up in peace to your father. And Yehuda came near to him and said, O my master, please let your servant speak a word in my master's hearing, and do not let your displeasure burn against your servant, for you are like Pharaoh. My master asked his servants, saying, Have you a father or a brother? And we said to my master, We have a father, an old man, and a young child of his old age, and his brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother's children, and his father loves him. And you said to your servants, Bring him down to me, and let me lay my eyes on him. And we said to my master, The boy is not able to leave his father, for if he leaves his father shall die. But you said to your servants, Unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you do not see my face again. And it came to be, when we went up to your servant my father, that we told him the words of my master. And our father said, Go back and buy us a little food. But we said, We are not able to go down. If our youngest brother is with us, then we shall go down, for we are not able to see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us. Then your servant my father said to us, You know that my wife bore me 2 sons, and the one went out from me, and I said, Truly he is torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since. And if you take this one from me too, and harm comes to him, you shall bring down my gray hair with evil to the grave. And now, if I come to your servant my father, and the boy is not with us, since his own life is bound up in his life, then it shall be, when he sees that the boy is not with us, that he shall die. So your servants shall bring down the gray hair of your servant our father with sorrow to the grave. For your servant went guarantor for the boy to my father, saying, If I do not bring him back to you, then I shall be a sinner before my father forever. And now, please, let your servant remain instead of the boy as a slave to my master, and let the boy go up with his brothers. For how do I go up to my father if the boy is not with me, lest I see the evil that would come upon my father? Chapter 45. And Joseph was unable to restrain himself before all those who stood by him. And he called out, Have everyone go out from me. So no one stood with him while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud, and the Mitzrites and the house of Pharaoh heard it. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers were unable to answer him, for they trembled before him. Then Joseph said to his brothers, Please come near to me. And when they came near, he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Mitzrayim. And now do not be grieved, nor displeased with yourselves, because you sold me here. For Elohim sent me before you to preserve life. For 2 years now the scarcity of food has been in the land. There are still 5 years in which there is neither plowing nor harvesting. And Elohim sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant in the earth, and to give life to you by a great escape. So then, you did not send me here, but Elohim, and he has appointed me for a father to Pharaoh, and master of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Mitzrayim. Hurry and go up to my father, and say to him, Thus says your son Joseph, Elohim has made me master of all Mitzrayim. Come down to me, do not delay. And you shall dwell in the land of Goshen, and be near to me, you and your children, your children's children, your flocks and your herds, and all that you have. And I shall provide for you there, lest you and your household and all that you have come to poverty, because 5 years of scarcity of food are still to come. And look, your eyes and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see that it is my mouth that speaks to you. And you shall inform my father of all my esteem in Mitzrayim, and of all that you have seen. And you shall hurry and bring my father down here. And he fell on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. And he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. And after that his brothers spoke with him. And the report of it was heard by the house of Pharaoh, saying, The brothers of Joseph have come. And it was good in the eyes of Pharaoh and in the eyes of his servants. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Say to your brothers, Do this, load your beast, and go, enter the land of Canaan. And take your father and your households, and come to me. And I give you the best of the land of Mitzrayim, and you eat the fatness of the land. And you have been commanded, do this. Take wagons out of the land of Mitzrayim for your little ones and your wives, and you shall bring your father and come. And do not be concerned about your goods, for the best of all the land of Mitzrayim is yours. And the sons of Israel did so. And Joseph gave them wagons according to the command of Pharaoh, and he gave them food for the journey. He gave to all of them, to each man, changes of garments, but to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of garments. And he sent to his father this, 10 donkeys loaded with the best of Mitzrayim, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and food for his father for the journey. So he sent his brothers away, and they left. And he said to them, Do not quarrel along the way. And they went up out of Mitzrayim, and came to the land of Canaan, to Yaakov their father. And they told him, saying, Joseph is still alive, and he is governor over all the land of Mitzrayim. Yaakov's heart ceased, for he did not believe them. But when they spoke to him all the words which Joseph had spoken to them, and when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to transport him, the spirit of Yaakov, their father, revived. And Israel said, Enough, my son Joseph is still alive. Let me go and see him before I die.